All right, all right. How to start. This is so exciting. It's Saturday morning. I hope you all having awesome Saturday morning. Welcome to Coding After 30. And I stream every Friday night, 9 p.m. US Central Time and 11 a.m. Saturdays, US Central Time. So welcome. Today we're going to have a fun stream. We're going to talk about kind of how I got started as a developer, how I broke into the industry. I want to share my story. And one of the reasons why I want to share my story is because I want to talk about, what I want to talk about is the reality of how long it took me to break into the field. And so that's kind of what I want to share. Make sure that everybody has kind of hears my story and my opinion about what it's like, because there's so much information on YouTube. There are so many things that, you know, kind of people get to see, and there's so much kind of like options out there, and everybody's like, man, what is like what's true and what's not? Like, can you get hired in 4 months? Like the title of this YouTube stream, like, how did I get hired in 4 months? It was like amazing. You know, how did I break into the thing, you know? And so that's what I want to talk about. And if my screen is stuck, is because my cat just sat on my keyboard, and literally the view that I want to find that controls which scene I see disappeared, which is kind of exciting. This is why you have cats, because cats are awesome, because they get to do stuff like that. And so once I find where that thing is to switch views, I'll finally be able to switch the view, which is ridiculous. Not my cat's fault, of course. She's just trying to be cute, you know, hang out and be like, hey, let me like give you some love by messing up everything you're doing on your computer, which is fine. We're gonna get there. We are gonna get there. And so we are getting there slowly, not the control I was looking for, but today we're going to talk about my story, how I got hired as a developer, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. No pull punches. I don't sell anything, so I don't have any BS story to tell you. So you buy my courses, because this is not easy. This is really hard, and this is the whole existence of this channel, is to give people the reality of why I do what I do, right? The whole point of this channel, and I think my music was just like too loud, so let me bring that down here before saying hello to everybody in the comments. Amazing people joining the chat, already smashing the like button like it's nobody's business. I really appreciate you. And so what we're going to talk about is my story, how I got hired. We're going to do some Q&A and give you some helpful tips of what you could do on your journey. And more importantly, I want you to also ask questions in the comments to be like, hey, listen, tell us the truth. How did you do it? Or talk about your struggles that you're having. Where are you on your process? Because I really want to know, in order to be like, hey, I want to hear what you're all going through, and kind of basically be like, hey, are you on the right path? Are you doing the right things? Or maybe, actually, to be honest, maybe you're doing something way smarter than I am, right? And maybe the tips that you'll have in the comments will be even more helpful. So let's jump into it. Welcome to Coding After 30. And let me say hello to everybody. We have Carol here. What's up? Saying hello. We have Sharon joining us. What's up, Sharon? Good to see you here. We have Josh showing. And let me see, is it possible? How do you, like, yeah, I got to figure out how to increase the size of the comments. I don't know if you could see them well enough. Habibo saying hello. Hello, everyone. Adidri saying hello. Nice retro wave intro. Yeah, I'm an 80s kid, so that's like the thing for me, because I'm actually about to be 42, unless I'm already for, oh my gosh, I don't even want to talk about it. But what's up? How you doing today, Horace? Great to see you here. Should I feel ready before starting a job hunt? And literally, I still don't feel ready. So don't wait to feel ready. Just start doing it. And if you have questions around that, definitely let me know. I will answer them. But I will talk about that exact same thing. And George saying hello. Jose saying hello. What's up, everybody? Love to see everybody here on this Saturday morning. And today, we're going to talk about my story, how I got hired. And the reason I want to share this with you is because it was a long journey. And if you haven't seen the YouTube video that I have on my channel, which is kind of like summarizes my journey of why I did what I did, because I wanted to make sure to kind of be like, listen, this is not easy. This is hard. And if you haven't seen it, maybe we could watch it together when I find it, because, you know, whenever you log into my channel, when you're already a user, you don't see that video because that's the highlight video. So but it is fine. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna share it, and we're going to watch it first because, and maybe we'll watch it in a little bit. But the thing that I want to say is that getting hired, getting your first job is really, really difficult. That is the truth. Don't believe the hype. I watched the video. This guy made a video. I'm not going to point out who it is because there's dime a dozen of these channels. So maybe it happens. But this guy's like, how I got hired in 4 months and became a software engineer. And then by the time he gets to the end of the video, I'm like, man, you're misrepresenting how easy this is. And I think you're like, I don't know what you're smoking, but maybe there's truth. And I will show you some funny videos, actually, by the way, that I made. And I wonder if the audio's on. Let me pause my music for a second. Let's test it out. We're gonna do it together. Let me share my screen. So here's one video I made, how I think about it. And I just got this baby. It's amazing. Like, work hard. You know, I took this course on Udemy. 3 months later, making over 250K. You could do the same thing. Just get my link. It's super awesome.
Hey, get away from my car, man.
Yep. And I just got, yeah. And so that's like my one thought about like how I feel about breaking into the field is that I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with selling courses. There's nothing wrong with making money off the things you're doing, right? And so what I'm getting at is this idea is that there's a lot of hype and there's this romanticized version on YouTube of how to become a developer, how to get hired, because they want to sell you the dream. And man, let me tell you, for me, it was a journey. It was difficult. And I hope that for you, it will be so much faster than for me. So here's my story in a nutshell, and I'll show the other video too, just to kind of, if you're new to the channel, by the way, welcome. This is Coding After 30. This is Coffee, Code, and Chat, where we talk about anything related of breaking into the industry as a software engineer, getting hired. More importantly, especially if you're doing it later in your life, this is where we talk about the tips. You don't have to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to, but whatever. I basically have 2 streams. Friday 9 p.m. I do live coding stream, US Central Time, and then Saturday mornings, which you're watching right now, we talk about how to break into the industry, soft skills, tips, what I've done, my struggle, and basically the story that I want to tell you today is how I got my first dev job and the reality of the process that it took. And if somebody says to me, Paul, did you do it in 4 months? No, I didn't. I didn't do it in 4 months. It actually took years for me to break into the industry. And some people will freak out. They're like, man, I only have 6 months. I only have, like, you can't set these unrealistic dreams and expectations. And this is the issue I have with watching videos where people made it and got hired in 4 months. And I think there's maybe a very small percentage of people that do accomplish it, but in my situation and all the other software engineers that I talk to at work, it's just not the case. It is very difficult, and so I want to tell you my story. I want to share it with you. I want to make sure that you all have a realistic expectation of what it takes, so you're not surprised when things take time. And yes, Jose is absolutely right. Coder Foundry has really good videos, and they run a bootcamp which takes 3 months or 4 months to complete, or 6 months. I don't remember how long their bootcamp is, but the point is, it's all immersive bootcamp. And the trick is, if you are going to go to bootcamp right after you graduate, go crazy going to interviews, reaching out, making friends with recruiters, following recruiters, making friends with the industry, because you don't want to wait after you graduate your bootcamp before you start trying to get a job. Because if you wait, then your chances drastically decrease. And I've heard this from so many people. And I didn't go to the bootcamp. I didn't graduate out of college. I did the self-taught route. And before someone says, what is the #1 way to get hired as a developer? Here's the truth. If you have a lot of time and you're living in a country where they subsidize your education, where you're not going to go into hundred thousands of debt, I'd still recommend get a computer science degree. Some people will be like, hey, that's not cool to say that. No, like computer science degree and college experience, it's just going to college just for experience is a fun thing. But if you don't have the time, you don't have that, like you don't want to go into debt with college loans, whatever the reason is, boot camps are great. You just have to find the right one, and you have to set realistic expectations. I didn't do none of those things. I went the self-taught route, and that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about my journey, the process, in order to be able to kind of showcase and share with you how I did it, because I want to make sure that nobody here is falling into like this romanticized version where for the minimum amount of effort, you're going to be able to get hired, get a job, left alone, you know, make the six-figure income that people talk about you're going to make. And we are going to talk about it. And if you have any questions, let me see in the chat how everybody's saying hello. Yeah, and Alex saying, yeah, learning to code is hard. And I'm not saying like people lying intentionally, but learning to code is hard. Paul is right. I think like life is right. Life is hard, you know? Anything worthwhile learning requires immense amount of dedication and effort and time. And coding is, you know, like, here's the thing, like, as a developer, the things that you're going to be done, they're not something that just anybody could learn in 3 months. It takes time, it takes effort, and I will talk about my full journey in a second, but I'm trying to do things in parallel here. I'm trying to find the video that I want to start with to kind of show you the story, because I think it does like a really good job. If you haven't seen it, I will share it with you in just a second, because to me the most important part is that everybody here has realistic expectation. If you're just joining, say hello, tell us where you are on your journey. Are you currently working as a software engineer? Are you trying to get into software engineering? Are you getting stuck? Where are you having trouble? Because more importantly, I do want to talk about my story, but more importantly, I want to hear from you in the comments. Let me know where you're at and ask your questions, because I do want to answer your questions and I want to talk about it. But before I do that, where's that goddamn video that I tried to find to share with you? Because it's super important that I share it, because I want to watch it together with you, because it really kind of talks about the birth of the channel, the process I took, the reality of what it's like of getting hired, because the truth is it's not easy. And there's this romanticized version of, if you go on YouTube and you search like how to get hired, how I got my job in 4 months, you're gonna have like thousands and millions of videos of how people, you know, supposedly got hired, you know, after 3-4 months. And there might be like some big story behind it that they're not sharing. Maybe they're like, I've been coding since 5 years old of age, and then I just stopped, and you know, then I decided that I'm gonna switch into careers, and so I am going to you know, do that, and yeah, like you're missing the part that you had 10 years of coding experience, you took a break, and then 3 months later you were able to get a job. Like, come on, like can we be like truthful a little bit? I'm not saying there are no cases where someone in 3 months gets a job. I'm not trying to say that, okay, like this is, you know, impossible. I'm gonna give you my brief story. So I started learning seriously at 36. I was even learning before that. I was just not doing it on a serious way. And it took me almost 4 years, 3.5 years to get to a point where I was able to get my job. I'm not saying it's gonna take you that long, but what I am saying is that, guess what? It's not easy, it's hard. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe those 4-month videos how I got hired, because what that's gonna do, it's going to basically set your expectations incorrectly, right? It's going to make you, you know, basically get frustrated really quickly when you realize it's like, hey, I've been learning to code. What the hell is happening? Why can't I, you know, get hired? Why can't I make progress? Why is there no job opportunities? And then you start saying stuff like, hey, no, the truth is not released Engine Boy, except the fact that it's hard and it takes time. By the way, Engine Boy, we did a stream together. He showcased his project. His project was insane. He built a bug tracker with Python and Django. I believe the back end, front end was React. And it was insane. It was insane because I'm like, dude, like, here's the thing. The idea is that I'm trying to find the video here. The idea is that there is no easy road. There's just smart study habits, doing the work and getting there. And I'm gonna get into the topics in more detail, by the way. And if you're just jumping in, I'm coding after 30. This is my channel. I talk about switching gears late in life. I'm literally some random dude who started to learn to code seriously at the age of 36 and switched careers. Literally at 39, I got my first job, right? And literally took me almost 4 years to get there. And hopefully I could tell you my mistakes I made, talk about my journey, that it will save you that time of not having to make that mistake by yourself. And if you haven't smashed the like button, don't smash it for me, smash it for the cool people in the comments, offering to the conversation. And Josh says, I find you truthful and down to earth, in it for the long run message, super motivating. Could you touch upon what your portfolio was like when you first got hired? And I will talk about that for sure. But first, let's kind of do this here for a second. Let me make sure I have the right thing here.
Ready to be an e-com.
Okay, I have ads playing on my own goddamn video, on my own goddamn channel. Why are you showing me ads? Hold on, I want to watch the video together, kind of with this, kind of help us all kind of see where I came from and my story, because, you know, I want people to know the reality of like, hey, it is hard. It takes time. It takes work. And that's what we got to do. So I'm going to pause the music for a second, switch my screen so we could watch this video together, and let me know if it's not loud enough, but I think it should be fine.
Close your eyes and imagine.
So I made this funny video.
The world where you learn to code. Imagine the girl, the boy that will love you.
Because you got to have a sense of humor.
For your ability to write HTML and CSS. How good would you feel when the app that you use on your phone is the one you made, that makes fun of people that call you? That would be amazing. What else can you make? The possibilities, the dreams become reality. Now, open your eyes and say to yourself,
and so I want to make
you
this
can
video
do it.
that's a little
No matter what
motivating,
people
but
say,
here's the truth part coming
Even
up.
if there's no guarantee, who needs a guarantee? This is what you want. You want to make your dreams a reality. Doesn't matter how old or young, smart or not. Just start coding. Just start doing. Don't stop. Don't give up. This could be your reality. Don't let haters slow you down. Just figuratively punch them in their necks, but not for real. There's so many people that decide to try new things, but one of the things they don't do is they don't start. And when they do start, they stop and don't continue. I started my first class when I was 10 years old learning to code on Apple IIe computers. Then I quit for the next 20 years. Then I coded on and off until I was 35. Then I started again, on and off, and I kept going. My whole life, I went through divorce, I had kids, I lost loved ones, but the one thing that I kept doing is never giving up. And now I'm here on this YouTube channel, trying to convince you to do the same. I started freelancing.
So the point of the video that I wanted to show you, and again, maybe I could have just talked about it, whatever, but I was like, I need to get more people see that video because I put so much effort into it and not enough. But whatever, it doesn't matter. The point that I'm making here, let's bring the music back, is that it is a long-term goal and process. If you start with the mentality, with this idea is that I'm gonna try it for 3 months, and if I don't get it, I'm gonna quit. Or if I'm gonna try it for 4 months, if I don't get it, I'm gonna quit. That's not how it works. It takes time. It takes doing the proper things. And so we know the fact that, okay, you need to get that into your mind, this setting right expectations and understanding. A lot of YouTubers, like, you know, that you see is they're creating content for YouTube that needs to be exciting, and they're trying to romanticize this idea of how easy it is to get a development job. Imagine if like there was a same video on YouTube, how I became a doctor in 3 months, right? How I became a dentist in 3 months, how I became, you know, a lawyer in 3 months. And here's the thing, like, as a developer, you're going to make, at some point, eventually, 6-figure income. What other professions make 6-figure income? Doctors, lawyers, right? So why do you think that if a doctor takes years to become a doctor, that a developer after 3 months could make same income? You won't, you will not. So let me break down now the timeline of my journey, and to kind of use this timeline, I'm gonna use some props to show you here, so you could kind of see what was the journey for me, and so you could kind of understand the process that I went to and where I come from. So first thing I want to do is to share with you when I started my GitHub, right? And I want to talk about the biggest issue that people have. I love Dennis Ivey here. He's an amazing dude. I became a developer in 3 months. Not a good one though. But here's the thing is, you know, and I'd love to talk to you actually about your journey, but you have an interesting thing. You basically create an application that you ended up selling to a company, which is amazing. But the thing that I would say about Dennis is that he's not a regular person. Dennis, you could probably tell me, no, I'm just like an average Joe. I'm going to call BS on that, because Dennis is one of the most motivated, one of the most entrepreneurial people I know on YouTube. And the secret sauce, and this is actually something I do want to talk about, is this idea that learning to code is not enough, right? You need to have the right mindset to make opportunities for you. Let me ask Dennis a question if he's still remaining here. It's like, do you think you got into where you gotten in that initial period because someone just showed up and gave you an opportunity, or because you put in extra massive effort to create that opportunity? Putting you on the spot, Dennis. If Dennis says it was easy and all he did was just sleep and like really did nothing. And by the way, I'm gonna like close the stream and be like, whatever, because if he tells me it took 0 effort, I'm gonna just say, you know what, screw it, I'm done. This is not how it works. Let people break their dreams by trying to go and accomplish huge things with the expectation that it's gonna be easy. So, by the way, like, go check out Dennis's channel. And one thing I want to say, but Dennis does a lot of cool stuff for the community. And one thing he's doing right now, which is kind of cool, is, let me share that here, and I'll share now. It's October, or called Hacktoberfest. And so, what's cool, you could go to codebattles.net/dev, and Dennis is doing a hackathon, which a lot of people are doing hackathons. And what's cool, he has 2 challenges. One is build a backend API, and he does a lot of stuff with Python, so you probably create one with Python. And the second challenge he has, and this is something that I'm probably going to do a stream on next week just for fun, it's how to build a front end that consumes the API that he has. And he gives a lot of like some kind of, you know, basically the requirements, and you could learn more about it by going to codebattles.dev and check it out. And also, speaking of hackathons, there's another place you could go. And the reason why I'm saying this, take advantage, participate in the community, work with other people. And here's another thing, which is Engine Boy participates a lot, is going to React Play. And this is specifically for now, and they're going to do a lot more stuff, is let me go to the right website here, reactplay.io. But what I'm getting here is participate in communities and build in public, get out there. This is why I stream live. And here you could submit projects that other people could review and check out. And so you're part of the community, and you have people that review the code, and it's pretty cool. And Engine Boy is actually one of the, here he is. Well, my site reloading. Here he is, and he also does code reviews, whatever. So what I'm saying is participate in hackathon, participate in communities where you're forced to work with other people to code is going to be huge. And so Dennis here replying, hardest thing I've done is put about 5 to 6 hours a day after my 9-to-5 job. And that's exactly like what you got to do. And Engine Boy is asking, what's the deadline? Deadline is November 7th, so plenty of time. Web Summit in Portugal at the end of October. So now 7th when stream is announced. Thank you for that information, Dennis. And this is what I'm saying. You got to get involved. So let's talk about my journey. And the first thing I want to talk about is this concept of wasting time and not really committing to what you are doing. So let's take a look at my GitHub. So I literally started my GitHub in 2013, right? I'm motivated. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to work really hard. And look, 2013, nothing. 2014, nothing. 2015, nothing. Remember I said I've been coding on and off? Literally, I wasn't doing anything serious that was actually moving the needle forward or anywhere. It's like 2016, nothing. I was like 36 in 2016. 2017, still nothing on my GitHub, but I'm trying. I'm doing my best. I'm working. I'm trying to hustle, but I'm still not doing anything. In 2018, where I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to start putting in more time. I'm going to be more serious. I'm going to work hard. And yeah, Engine Boy seems you're famous now because we're getting all the... By the way, getting like all these things that waste your time, listen, is going to mess you up. And so, but here it is. 2019 was starting to be more serious, 2020, and now like the history speaks for itself. You got to get involved. And if we take a look at my LinkedIn, by the way, I didn't have this amazing LinkedIn with the stuff that I developed. If we take a look at my journey, right, show all my experience. Look, my background was I used to run a martial arts school, teaching kids and adults Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. And I did that all the way until 2015. In 2015, I sold insurance, which was like the worst job I ever had because I just didn't like the type of selling that we're doing. And then eventually 2018, I got an internship working and doing WordPress and PHP development. And when I say PHP, really nothing much. It's just being able to go into a pre-made template and maybe update some HTML and CSS. I also had an internship at Fluid Logic Design for almost a year and a half where we tried to build our own company, which failed, but I still counted because we did build some cool templates and I continued to learn React through this time. And then I was like, you know what? I need to make money. I went back to continue to work as a marketing manager at our martial arts gym for 4 years. And while I was doing that, 2016, I was 36. I was learning to code. And then eventually at 2019, and by the way, this is the internship, Point Marketing is the same company that eventually hired me in 2019 to be a front-end web developer, still working mostly with HTML, CSS, basic JavaScript, and WordPress sites. And then after that, I continued to learn React because I felt like React was the fastest way for me to break into the industry. And I got my first job as a software developer engineer at VersaSuite. Craziest experience, very terrible. This company, I'm not afraid to say it, whatever, VersaSuite, you could check them out on... Actually, like, it was the most toxic company I worked for. And guess how much I got paid my first developer job? My Point Marketing development job paid more. It paid $25 an hour. And I didn't want to stay there because I didn't want to continue learning PHP. Whatever, there's nothing wrong with PHP. But this was my first React position where I also had to learn C#. They paid me, this company paid me $13.75 an hour. That's exactly what I had to, like I was making at a supermarket that I was working at the same time I was working this job because I couldn't pay my bills. So I had to work 2 jobs. And the reason why I took this job is because it's beginning of COVID. You know, I didn't even know if like anybody else would hire me. And I'm not saying take a low paying job like I did, but I looked at it this way: 1 year and 5 months of software engineering experience is going to help me move up. It's going to help me to get better job. And then I got hired eventually as a software engineer doing Red Hat research. And this paid me $45 an hour. And so I went from $13.75 an hour. I don't think I should have stayed there for 1 year and a half, to my next job where I was making $45 an hour. And now I work as Strappy as a developer advocate, which I'm going to tell you, I am making more than I made here. And so over time, and you're going to get to where you're going. And here's the thing. A lot of people complain like, well, a year to get hired, or 2 years to get hired, 3 years to get hired. Here's the thing. It is not unheard of in software engineering roles to, yes, you could definitely add me on LinkedIn. Just send me an invite for sure. And Jose also sold insurance a few years ago. That's how we do it, man. We got to pay the bills. We got to support our family. Here's another thing that a lot of people don't talk about. Is like, when you have relationships and you're going on this coding journey, you have to understand that you're not doing this just yourself, and it will put pressure on your relationship. So it's very important. If you have a relationship, you have your kids, you have to make sure that not only do you have to manage your starting, but you have to manage your relationship, manage making sure you have the support, because it could put unnecessary strain. And some of you don't know, like I recently separated with my fiance after being together for 4 years. And that's because she just couldn't deal with the fact that, number one, we were kind of going back and forth with a long distance relationship, but she was supposed to move here. But prior to that happening, she was just like, Paul, you're just always working, you're always studying. And I tried to explain to her, look, I'm making a huge career change. And for me to be successful, I need to put this work. I need to put this sacrifice in. And she just was like, I can't wait for you to get there. Fair enough. But here's the thing. These are the things and issues you're going to have. And so when somebody talks about, oh, I got hired in 4 months, like, what the hell you talk about? There's all these things like that you need to manage and do. And as I just recently showed to you, like my history, it took me a long time to get to the job. So let's talk about, okay, we know that it's hard. We know that it's going to take work. Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it? And by the way, the reason I started my YouTube channel is just to have a history of, you know, like if you go to my YouTube channel and you search like the first video that I made, I don't have a developer job. I'm just some random dude on the internet trying to hustle and get there. And the reason why I created the YouTube channel is to have a history of the change, like my growth. Like I wanted people to be like, hey, like this is possible. And after becoming a software engineer myself, after you know, going through the process. And by the way, let me know if I didn't share my LinkedIn screen previously, because I was wondering. And if you're just joining in, let me share it again. So my journey took a while to get there. Here's my experience. I started, like I did completely different thing, which had nothing to do with coding. I taught Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and martial arts. Then I sold insurance. Then eventually tried to start a side hustle with my friend, junior JavaScript developer. You know, that failed miserably, but I still put it here because we did work on React templates and stuff like that. And then I worked at Point Marketing as a WordPress developer, just doing basic HTML and CSS and JavaScript stuff. Then eventually, you know, I still had to have a normal job to pay my bills. So I'm working a job and studying on the side. Then eventually I got hired as a front-end developer. Then eventually I got hired as a software engineer at VersaSuite. Then I got hired at Red Hat Research, and now I work as a developer advocate at Strappy, which was literally my dream job. And so the idea that I'm trying to kind of say here and talk about is that the journey is long, the journey is hard, and it takes work. So starting out, let's talk about, you know, what should you focus on? The biggest problem that I find is trying to not have a goal and not having a purpose. So what you need to do is, number one, make a decision, say, hey, this is what I want to do. And I know that it's going to take work, and I'm willing to put in this effort. And before you start learning anything, deep diving, make a decision. Commit. Be like, hey, this is what I am going to do. And then the next thing you do, once you make a decision, decide what are you going to do. And here's the truth. A lot of people they're like, should I do full stack? Should I do back end? And for most people, I would recommend just starting with front end. And I tell people there's no junior full stack or back end development jobs. And someone told me the other day, Luke goes to me like, but Paul, I'm a junior full stack guy. No, you think you're a junior, but you're not. By nature, full stack development and backend development is not a junior role because of how much stuff you have to learn. Because especially full stack, not only do you have to be competent in front end, which takes a while to get good at, but you also need to understand the back end that you're working with. You need to be comfortable with working and building APIs. You have to be comfortable working with databases, troubleshooting databases. You also have to be comfortable with troubleshooting deployment issues. And so for me, no, like full stack, there's no junior full stack roles because it's not a junior position. And so for me, I would say if you want to break into the industry, and I'm going to start and talk about from the standpoint of web development, is because front-end web development, in my mind, is the fastest way to get your foot in the door. And so now what's been happening with me is I've been working as a front-end developer, and I'm slowly making the transition to full stack, but I'm doing it already, having a job and being hired. And so that's the thing that I want to tell you is make sure that you set narrow path for yourself so you can stay on track to accomplish the goals that you set out. So what I would suggest, if you decide that you want to be a front-end developer, or whatever developer, decide what you want to learn. If you're going to learn C# and ASP.NET, that's what you focus on. If you want to, and how do you decide what to learn, by the way? Let me back up. You decide that by going to your local job search websites. If you're in the US, go to Indeed.com and search jobs in your area to see what is the most common tech that people are using. I know in some countries, like I keep talking about React, but they're like, Paul, there's only PHP jobs here. Or in some areas in US even, they're like, no, there's only C# jobs here. And so figure out what that is for you and then pick the appropriate tech stack. For me, I decided to go with JavaScript and React. And so number one, what I did is I literally committed to this idea. I'm only going to focus on JavaScript and React because in my mind, it is the quickest way for me to get hired. So once you decide what you are going to be working on, right, and what you're going to be doing, is that you need to kind of create your own roadmap. I know there's plenty of videos that tell you the roadmap. Yeah, it's general. It's super easy. You need to know HTML. You need to know CSS. You need to know JavaScript. And when I say JavaScript, you should be comfortable with all the fundamentals and also really understanding promises, async await, and how to make API calls using JavaScript. And then you need to learn a framework. And the most popular is React. I've been doing a lot of Remix, but scratch that. React. You need to learn React or Angular, Vue. When it comes to jobs, stick with React. There's more jobs available, regardless how you feel about the framework. And then build portfolio projects to get you hired. And I'll talk about that in a second. And there were some questions I had of what my portfolio looked like when I got my first job. I will talk about that as well. And so Mahir says it's really hard hitting to see you went back to sales after learning to code for 2 years. And yeah, sometimes that's the reality. And that's the thing. I basically was running out of my savings and I was like, I need to continue working to pay my bills and I needed to do something. And the reality is when you're transitioning careers, you don't get to decide when and what happens because there are certain things you don't have control of. But the one thing you do have control of is how much time you spend daily on learning the skill and doing the right things that will get you to being hired. And one of those things, which I will talk about, is networking. But I want to share with you kind of my roadmap, and you don't have to, and I think this is public, so I'll share it in the comments if you want to do, but I'm just going to use this as talking point. talking point. Let me put a comment here. Boom. If you want to take a look. But, and again, please ask questions if you want about anything, right? I'm here to answer questions, to help you all out. So I know I've talked about my journey already. I talked about don't waste time, commit. And there's lots of different roadmaps. And so here's the thing. When it comes to roadmaps, what you need to do is you need to create your own, right? Your own plan. And this is basically, you could use this as a template, but this is what I did. The first thing I did is decide what I should learn. And my literal goal was I'm going to focus on becoming a React developer. And before we go and dive into this, I just want to say thank you for all of you who are jumping in, for smashing the like button, showing your support. This channel is really for you, and I only exist because of you. And I'm some random dude who late in his super late 30s, like I started learning at 36. Seriously, I got my first job at 39. It was really hard work. And the point of this channel is to give you real tips on how you could stop wasting time and get to where you're going. And it's not going to take you 4 months. If you're lucky, maybe, but it doesn't mean listen, anybody oh my God, let me just say this, quick thing here, quick thing, Jesus Christ. Even after I got hired, that's not the end of your journey. Are you kidding me? That's the beginning of the journey, because the first 6 months at your job, this is exactly what it's going to feel like. It's like, oh my God, today is the day I'm going to get fired. Today is the day I'm going to get fired. You literally, once you get your first job, you're going to feel like you don't know anything. Everything's going to be overwhelming. Nobody talks about this side of things, by the way. Anybody who got their first dev job will tell you this is exactly what they felt like. The process was, you got hired, and then the first 6 months, you're literally feeling like you're going to get fired because you don't know enough. You're afraid to ask questions. You're messing up a lot of times. And that's just a normal part of being a developer. So failure to me in coding means just getting better. Fail is synonymous with learning. So don't be afraid of failure. That's why I stream live. This is why I put myself out there, because, you just get out of your mind, work in the community. It's better to be involved with more people, work on projects together to get stuff done. And Engine Boy says, after I got hired, the real fight starts and the real struggle starts. And it's 100%. It's like you feel like you have to fight your way to get your job. And then when you get your job, you realize that you have to fight even harder to keep it. And let's kind of go back to the roadmap here to just kind of talk about, because I want to talk about this idea of being stuck in tutorial hell. So here's the thing, you need to create your own roadmap. And so I identified, I want to become a React developer. That's what's popular in my area. And then I basically decided, what do I need to learn in order to be a developer? And by the time, before, by the way, I didn't have these here, Next.js and TypeScript, but in today's time, you need to learn something on top of Create React App, which I recommend Next.js. And yes, you do need to learn TypeScript as well. Can you get a job without TypeScript and without Next.js? Yes, you can. But with the way and where things are moving, this is something I tell you. But basically, once you decide and go full in on the idea that you want to become a front-end developer, once you do the research to see what tech stacks are popular in your area, for me, React developer, and I still suggest someone wants to break into the industry fast, just focus on becoming a React developer, and then create a list of things that you need to learn. And literally, I got this information based on the job searches that I did and what I saw. And so I created the things that I need to learn. I need to learn GitHub. I need to learn HTML, CSS, and Sass. I think it's still important. You need to know JavaScript. You need to learn basic React with Create React App. Then you should pick up Next.js. Once you know React, Next.js is going to be much faster to learn. And then nowadays, I'm a late adapter to TypeScript, but you need to know TypeScript. If you do, it's going to be a plus. If you don't know it, does it mean you're not going to get hired? No, you could still get jobs without knowing TypeScript, but it's becoming less and less of a thing of not knowing TypeScript. You need to know how to consume APIs, and you should have a basic understanding of databases, like what they are, some basic queries, how to work for both. Like I would literally recommend focusing just on SQL type. Like forget Firebase, forget MongoDB. Every job I had, they use SQL-based databases. So if you want to stay on track, that's what you focus. And then what I did, I said, listen, for each one of these things, and I didn't do it for all of them. I did take a GitHub course on Udemy, but you don't need 1,000 resources. Let me do another rant about tutorial hell. Tutorial hell is a thing, and it's stupid. Tutorial hell will consume you. It will eat you up, and it's going to ruin your learning. If you're too caught up on this, like, I need to do another tutorial. 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 All you're going to get good at is doing tutorials, but you're not going to get good at coding stuff from scratch, and you're definitely not going to be job ready if you're stuck in the tutorial hell. And so the reason why I want to share this with you, and first of all, I want to kind of showcase this. Here's one of my accounts. I have a bunch of accounts on Udemy, and this is one of the mistakes that cost me dearly. So this particular account has over 226 courses that I bought. I don't even want to do the math. Did I complete all of them? No, I did not. The issue with Udemy here, let's do this, okay? Let's do this. Let's do JavaScript. And this is going to be my argument why you don't need multiple courses. Okay, so complete JavaScript from, by the way, this is a good course. I recommend a lot of John Smilga courses. Like this one is my favorite tutorial. But here's the thing. Let's take a look at this course. Let's take a look at the course. I'm going to tell you why all you need is one resource to learn the thing that you want to learn. And I'll tell you why. So here's the thing. Let's look at it. JavaScript basics. Okay. Data types, arrays, functions, objects, while loops, do loops, for loops. Okay, this is one JavaScript course. Okay, great. Let's pick another random JavaScript course. Okay, this is a good one. All right, let's pick it. Let's take a look here. Let's see. Jesus Christ, don't pay that price. Are you kidding me? What are you smoking? No, I'm almost passed out. Look at the price. Wait for a sale. The JavaScript fundamentals. Let's see basics, booleans, switch statements, functions, arrow functions. Every course that you're going to see on JavaScript on Udemy literally teach the same thing. So for me to buy this course, which I did in a different account, for me to buy, because I have two accounts, together I have almost like 600 courses because I have two different Udemy accounts. But here's the thing. Every course on JavaScript you take a look on Udemy is going to be same material. So for you to buy one JavaScript course, buy another JavaScript course, and buy another one, is basically you in school taking math level 1 3 times. When you're in college, do you take the same, or in high school or middle school, do you take the same math level? No, you don't. You take one math class. Next semester, you take a higher level math class, right? And so when you're getting started on the learning journey, right, you don't need to take bajillion lessons. And the biggest tip I could tell you, and nobody's going to follow this tip, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. Once you decide what you need to learn for your particular goal, for me was React developer, pick one resource. Only one. I can't tell you that you don't need to waste your time with multiple resources. You just need one resource. And by the way, before I talk about this master plan that I laid out for myself after failing at getting a job forever, I want to just say thank you for joining us. Everybody who's in the chat saying all these things, definitely. And let's take a look at the comments before we do. Yep. Completing a tutorial makes me feel smart, but I'm really scared when I can't prove my skills in an interview. And that's the hardest thing. Like, tutorials will give you false confidence, and I'll tell you how to overcome that. It's part of the things that I'm going to talk about for sure. And by the way, if you're just jumping in, you haven't smashed the like button, smash the like button, not for me, but for yourself, for jumping in, saying hello, and for everybody else in the comments. And by the way, this is the Coding After 30 Coffee Code and Chat stream. Let's make it official by sipping my coffee, and I stream every Friday 9 p.m. US Central Time where I do live coding, and Saturdays is a stream like this where we talk about everything related to getting hired, learning strategies, what you should do. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, but you don't have to. You don't have to subscribe to my channel. That's perfectly fine. I already talked about my story, how I got hired. Newsflash, it was really hard. It took a lot of work, and it took me over 3.5 years to get there. Not saying that it's going to take you that long, but if you have a plan, you could definitely, and you're smart about it and you're dedicated, you could definitely get there. But let's come back here. So here's the approach I'll tell you. Pick one resource, one course that you need. Don't waste your time by buying multiple JavaScript courses because you don't need them. And I will give you this challenge and just do only one course in the thing. So for me, I'm going to use HTML and CSS as an example. I literally took one course, and here's how I approach courses on Udemy. Number one, I pick one course, whatever it is, and let's use this as an example. Let's do HTML, and CSS, whatever. I'm just going to pick a random course to kind of show you here. So here we go, HTML and CSS. I already bought this course, but whatever. It's a great course. I like it. So what you do, and we're going to go back to our notes here. Let me move this to another screen here so I could switch like this. So pick one resource. And what you want to do and how I do this is how I do. I pick one resource for the thing that I want to learn. And this is what I do. I literally start with the course, and I'm literally going to go through every section. I'm going to do everything the instructor says. I'm going to complete the projects, right? Every project in the section. I'm going to complete it by following the instructor. I'm going to literally finish the course. Do I take notes? I don't. Literally, I just save the stuff on GitHub, and then I reference it as notes when I have to. But you can take notes. Once you finish the projects, once you complete the course, right? I'm here. I found one resource, I complete it fully. Now, before going to Udemy, especially if you didn't complete the course, right? Before going to Udemy, don't search another HTML and CSS course. What the hell are you doing? You just completed one. Why take a second one? You already learned everything you need. Believe me, you did. And what you need to do is now, based on what you learned from this course, and also what you're going to have is you're going to have all the projects you completed from the course. I deleted a lot of mine, but I could show you some that I still have. Netlify, right? Netlify, whatever. Login. Like, you're going to have some of the projects that you completed based on the course. Like, I took this course here. I'll show you this. So I took a React course a while ago, and basically, where it's here. And I built this project. And by the way, I did the course. I completed the course. This is the project I built. Because I had 0 things in my portfolio, I literally put this into my portfolio. Now, when you have no own projects, it's okay to put things you built following a tutorial. Just be mindful that you're not going to be able to explain this as well as if you build it yourself, because you follow the instructor, they literally planned this out, but I still put it in my portfolio because I had nothing. But your goal should be, let's come back to our notes here. The goal should be, after you complete your course fully and build all the projects in the course, put it on GitHub. And this is the most important part. Don't take a second course, but based on what you learn, build your own goddamn project. Based on what you learn, you're going to struggle. You can use the course as a resource, but I don't want you. What I want you to use as a resource, maybe the code you have on GitHub from the project, or use Google to Google your answer based on the problems you're having, because that's a very fundamental skill of getting better, right? And so the process is, pick one resource only. Don't need a bunch of HTML courses. I just showed you as an example. We looked at a bunch of JavaScript courses. They all show this cover like 80% of the same material. So don't waste your time buying multiple courses like I did. You only need one resource. Follow through all of the tutorial, right? Complete everything in the course. And then once you complete the course fully, don't buy another course. Don't do another course. Build your own version of the project. I'll show you an example. Like people like Paul, you're just talking. You're just saying things, and I'm listening, but whatever you're saying, like, here's the thing. Here's a project I built. based on Brad Travesty's course. Once it loads, so maybe I should click it to load it. Oh wait, I'm clicking the wrong thing. I gotta click it here. Once it loads, this is the project I built following Brad Travesty's course, right, on HTML and CSS. It was great. You know, I had a lot of fun. It was nice. I did a mistake by using super huge images. It's my fault. Lesson learned. But I built this following his tutorial. And so initially I had this in my portfolio. So I went, I completed his course, right? I did this stuff. I did it like following him. I saved it. And then before moving to the next course, what I did is I built my own version based on what I learned from that course. And so if you looked at my projects, I'm going to show you here, is where is it? Where is it? Next page. Hold on. It should be on this page. Is it on this page? But what I did before moving forward is I went ahead. Here you go. I built this from scratch based on what I learned from Brad Travesty's course. And so all the code here I've written myself, including some basic JavaScript here. And I replaced Brad Travesty's project with my own project that I built from scratch. And guess what? On an interview, I could show you this code. I could talk about it with confidence. Why? Because I built it myself. So that's the secret sauce. Number one, identify what you want to become. You want to become a React developer or whatever you want to do. Identify all the things you have to learn, and then only get one resource per thing. So you don't waste time spending time learning. And if you need a second resource, use Google, read the documentation on the thing that you're learning. And the process is, once you get one course, one resource, learn everything you need to from that one resource, complete it fully, build all the projects, save it to GitHub. Whatever you build in a project, you could put it in your portfolio while you complete the second step. And this is important. If you're not even finishing course and going to the next course, you're going to lose. You're not going to succeed. I'm telling you right now, I made that mistake, a lot of wasted time. So don't do that. After you complete the course fully, complete the course fully. I can't stress that enough. Build all the projects on the course and then stop and build your own version of what you learn. And I showed you the example where I used Brad Travesty's HTML, CSS to learn. And then after I completed it, based on what I learned, I created my own project, my own app that I could put in my portfolio. And I didn't follow this from the beginning. I wasted 2-3 years learning, by the way. This is my system that I would, if I were to learn to code again, this is the system I would follow. Then do the same thing with JavaScript. Find one resource, learn that resource, build those projects from resources. Then when you complete that course, stop. Don't move to another course. Go ahead, build your own version. And what's awesome, and you have to create your own roadmap like this, and I'll share this link. I think it's public. You'll be able to see it. You could use it as a resource. And what I want to say is, by the end of you completing your own roadmap, and by the way, it's going to take you more than 3 to 4 months, is you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 projects that you built yourself from scratch to put in your portfolio. And here's the meat. And before I talk about why building things from scratch is important and why you need to do it, I will tell you, and there's some great questions that we'll get to in just a second. I will tell you about that in just a second. But before I do that, if you're jumping on, thank you for jumping on. This is Coding After 30, Coffee, Code, and Chat, live stream. And I stream every Friday, 9 p.m. US Central Time doing coding. And then 11 a.m. Saturday, US Central Time, talking about getting hired, tips on like my journey of what I did to get hired, to break into the industry, you know, blah, 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 blah. Very helpful tips. Because, and by the way, I have no course to sell you. I don't make money on YouTube. I make money from my job. I work at Strappy right now. You could learn more about Strappy at strappy.io, a selfless plug. And if you want to subscribe, go ahead. If not, that's okay too. But definitely smash that like button for all the people in the comments. So here's the thing I want to talk about. Let's talk about why this build step is important. The biggest issue I had, and I'll use this as an example, and it's been a while, so I could kind of share this with you, because number one, I did not get hired at that company, and I'll tell you why I did not get hired in that company. And then we're gonna use this segue to talk about data structures and algorithms, because unless you're going to work at FANG, I don't think it's important. I think more importantly, like if you can't build stuff from scratch, don't even worry about database and data structures and algorithms outside the basics like arrays, objects, strings, integer, like numbers, whatever, booleans, and that stuff. But let me see if I still have this. Like I want to show you something. So yes, thank you. Yes, bro, all that stuff needs more than a year, 100%. Hence, it took me almost 3.5 years to get my first job because I didn't know that stuff and I didn't have a system to help me, like I demonstrated, to help me learn and not get, sidetracked by doing too many different courses that I could have avoided. But now, yeah, you could probably in a year get all that stuff done with very committed time and get there. So yeah, thank you for that comment. And then we're gonna talk about this in just a second, but let me talk about this concept here, why you need to focus on building projects from scratch. And I'm gonna share with you something where I didn't get a job because I failed. And I wanna see if I have the code snippet here. 1 second. I saved it to remind myself this importance here. And I hope I didn't delete it. I'll be stupid if I deleted it because it's such a great example to talk about. Oh my God, Paul, don't tell me you deleted it. No, you can't have. Why would you? Why would you delete the most important thing? Why would you do it? No, don't tell me you did not delete it, Paul. You did not. I'm about to have a heart attack. This would have been such a great... Okay, I still have it here. So here's the thing. Check this out. And this is why building stuff from scratch is super important. And if you're too busy thinking that tutorials gonna get you a job, tutorials are gonna teach you how to build stuff from scratch. But to learn how to build stuff from scratch, you have to build stuff from scratch. So I'm gonna give you this example. I'm not gonna tell you which company this was from. But I had a job interview and they asked me to build a products page where you're able to filter products by, the product, filter by category and by things that are in stock. And here's the interesting thing. I got really used to working with arrays, right? But look, all the data is provided as an array. Cool, right? But I had to add a performant way of how to have categories that you're able to look up by ID, because it'll be way faster than doing the lookup in an array if instead you have an object of categories and you look up by keys. So what I had to do on this interview is I had to... Where's the JavaScript? Oh, here's the JavaScript. What I had to do is I had to create a function and create the logic to take the array and convert it into... It's somewhere in here. I haven't looked at this code in forever. Convert it, here we go. To convert it into object with keys, and then be able to take those keys and get them out of that object before mapping the categories. And so I didn't know how to do that. Because why? Because I didn't practice building stuff from scratch. And so I failed this interview to build this project. And you're probably asking, Paul, well, why do you have a working example that works? Like, why do you have this example? Because once I failed the interview, what I did is I went home and I completed it to make sure that I learned how to do this from scratch. And when I got stuck, I literally used the internet to help me learn those things. And so when you're learning, the biggest thing in your learning, stick to one resource, complete that, whatever course you're taking completely, but then focus on building stuff from scratch so you never get stuck on interviews when they ask you to build stuff because you don't know how to do it. And how do you learn how to do that? Is by not omitting this stage here. Once you complete your course, and if you want to get ahead of everybody, based on what you learn, build your own project. And that's, by the way, going to be one of your projects in your portfolio. And for example, right now I'm building this project now. And for some people, they're going to be like, wow, like it looks like kind of complex. You know, you have like all, and it's not done yet. You have all these cool features. You're working with an API. It's like, how do you get there? And how do you feel comfortable building this? Is because at some point, I forced myself to start building things from scratch. And by the way, this is why I stream every Friday night. I don't stream, like it's cool if people tune in and watch it. I don't stream because I want people to watch it. Of course I do. Like I would lie to you if I said I don't care. I do care. But I've streamed when nobody watched. And why do I stream? Is because I want to practice coding live. And I kind of say it's not a live stream, it's a fail stream, because I'm literally showing you how I'm failing and suffering through live coding and building something from scratch. I get stuck a lot. I get frustrated a lot. I have to Google things a lot. I have to go on Stack Overflow a lot. But the reason why I do it is because I want to go through the process to show you that it's perfectly normal to code and suffer and code and fail. It's a normal process. And this is why I live stream, even if no one tunes in, because I want to practice the act of getting better, of building things from scratch. Some people say, oh, I have some portfolios that I basically based on tutorials I built. Fair enough. I did the same thing. But to me is, you're not going to have the knowledge required to answer those questions around what you built comfortably. But if you build a project yourself, you'll be able to easily talk about, like I'll show you a quick example here. So like, let's take a look at this project here. So I'm going to go Control Terminal. No, let's not update it. CD Desktop, CD SAT, what the hell I called it? CD Client, Code, Client, Code, open it in code. This is what type of confidence you will get from building stuff from scratch. Here's the code that I'm working on. And if you build things from scratch, and this is using Remix, whatever, like you could ask me any questions about any one of these functions, and I will tell you exactly what it does. Why? Because I wrote it myself. I suffered myself through the process of learning this stuff. And because I worked on building things from scratch, the learning that I gained from it, like any point in the code, I could answer questions comfortably. So in the interview, if I was talking about this project, I would have an answer for everything, including what I could have done better, right? And this is why I tell you, build from scratch. So quickly review what we talked about. So this roadmap took me forever, but if you're looking to break into the field, number one, decide what you need to learn by doing research in your local area to see what is the most common tech people use. For me, it was React development. And so then I identified all the things I feel I need to learn to get a junior job as a developer. And when I started, this was not as important, but I think now learning TypeScript for sure and learning Next.js outside of React Create App is important. And then what I did is, and what I recommend you do is pick one resource per topic. Don't pick many. I already talked in the video why it's bad, but what you do is you complete the full resource. Not all, like it could be a Udemy course, it could be whatever, and then build all the projects in that course. But before you buy a new course, and for the time being, put those things into your portfolio. At least you have something to show. And then before you move on to the next course, build projects from scratch based on what you learn. So the way I look at learning is tutorials will give you confidence to start learning how to build stuff from scratch. Tutorials don't get you to a job. It's knowing how to build stuff from scratch that will give you the confidence to get hired. Don't underestimate. And once you complete your roadmap, right, whatever it is for you, and you could use this as reference, I will share it on the link for you as well. And the argument here, I would also say, this is a great question, is algorithms data structure question is what interview sees if you can solve them or not. It doesn't matter what language you use, Java, JavaScript, exactly. So algorithm data structures eventually become important, but they're not as important if you're not applying to FANG jobs. I went to a bunch of interviews. All the interviews that they asked me about algorithms and data structures, I flunked. Fantastic, but half my interviews were literally, can you build this thing from scratch? And I did amazing because I was able to build those things from scratch because I really started to commit time practicing the most important part, which is building stuff from scratch. And this is why I stream every Friday, is to learn how to build stuff from scratch and how to talk about it. So when I go to an interview, I could comfortably talk about my code. And I'm not saying algorithm data structures are not important, but the way I would talk about it is like this. if you can't build a project that they will expect you to build at your job, so for instance, you get a job as a React developer, so they expect you to be able to build a thing with React. If you can't build a thing with React, you're not like, then why learn algorithm and data structures? You don't have the skill to do the job that you got hired for. So why like do data structure and algorithm? And by the way, data structures and algorithms, this is another fun fact for us. You don't need to know everything. Where's that? HackerRank, right? HackerRank is a thing, right? I can't spell. How do you spell HackerRank? Let's go to not sign up. Let's log in HackerRank. I haven't logged in here in forever, but let's take a look here. Let's log in. That didn't work. Is it working? Not now. So here's the thing. They changed their UI a little bit. I'm kind of interestingly interested here. Continued preparation. Okay, forget that. Like, don't worry about that stuff. I just want to show you. Yeah, they changed a lot of stuff here, how it works. But I forgot where the view is. But there's a view where they break down. Yeah, they changed their view. What the hell? You had this amazing view where they showed yeah, they're not doing it now, but basically they had this section where they show by percentage what you need to learn in terms of data structures, algorithms, and they basically showed by percentage of how many of the topics are asked on the interview. And basically 80% of questions were around like arrays, like 40% were around objects. So if you know arrays, objects, in the most cases, you're going to be fine. But like tree traversal, all that other stuff, a lot of that stuff you'll be asked when going for FANG companies, which is not something I did. So you don't even have to go too crazy. And so if you learn the basics of a programming language, working with arrays and JavaScript is JavaScript. Working with arrays and objects, you should be comfortable with. And I just wanted to share that. But the basics of the story, if you can't build something, don't even bother diving deep into algorithms. I still suck at algorithms, but I've been working in the field for past 3.5 years, almost 4 years. And so, you know, this is like a moot point. And so that's what I want to talk about. Once you complete your roadmap, because doing this is 20% of getting hired. Completing and getting the skill to do the job, it's 20%. The next is having a portfolio, having a LinkedIn, process of applying. How do you get your resume seen by people? That's where the 80% of the work is going to be done. And if you can't do that 80% of that work, you're not going to go anywhere. So what I recommend on top of this roadmap, and I did not update, I use this as an example because and I didn't realize I wasn't sharing the roadmap that I did. So let me back up here. And so once you learn this, you complete the code that you need to know to get the job. But to get the job, this is only 20% of the time. Most of the 80% of the time is going to be spent. This is why I call BS and getting hired in 4 months, because number one, to complete this will take you more than 4 months to be ready to be a junior front-end React developer. And number two, you need to have a portfolio, and you need to have LinkedIn, you have to have, and you have to apply, and you have to interview. And that's where majority of the work is going to be. And so I want to share with you, and I didn't update this because you don't need to be a genius to get this started. And by the way, I didn't build this myself. I bought a template from Bootstrap Made, and you could actually get it for free. You could go to Bootstrap Made. Like, a lot of people spend too much time building their own project, like portfolios. Like, look, I just used this one, right? That's it. Boom. You could get it for free. I paid some money for it because I didn't want the watermark. And so right away, set up something. And even if you don't have the skill, put some basic information here. My number is different, and please don't spam me, but it's fine. So here's the skills at the time I wanted to get good at. And even if you don't have them, just put them in here, the skills that you want to get good at, that you need to get good at. And this would be changed. And you, like if I were to do this again,
And then if you don't have a resume, admit that section. If you don't have portfolio, submit that section, but set up a basic website. And then right away, you need to set up GitHub, right? You need to have GitHub. Set it up from day one. You need to have it. And number two, you need to set up LinkedIn. It's going to take time for your LinkedIn to start to look like this, because you need to build that reputation. As you could see, and I looked at this before, look, I started as a martial arts instructor, then I worked in insurance sales, and then it was a long process of getting to my first software development job that took more than 4 months. I hate to break it to you. And then now I work at my dream company. I work as a developer advocate at Strappy, which is fantastic. And so you need to set those up. And here's the thing. I want to talk about the reality of the interview process. So I talked to a bunch of people. Some people get lucky, but you could increase your luck. But if luck is not, like, what should you expect when you create a portfolio, you have your website, and you, we got Luke saying hello. What's up, Luke? And he says, now the only person I know who is super good at lead code style interviews using Python for all interviews, even though is a C#. I think that's super weird, but seems to work for him. Yeah, so yeah, you could pick whatever language you want. Here's the thing I want to say about Luke. Luke called me out on one of my comments. I made a video, I think, there is no junior full stack development. I still stay by that, but he said he is a junior full stack developer, and I'm gonna call bullshit on that. The knowledge that you needed to gain, Luke, I will make an argument, puts you in a category of not being a junior developer, because you needed to know front end, and you also needed to know how to build an API using, C#, ASP.NET. You also needed to understand how to, I haven't used C# for a while. What did they use to query their database? What is that thing called? You can put it in the chat. You needed to learn how to use that to query. You needed to understand databases. You needed to understand basic query language of the database you're using, where if you're using ASP.NET, it's an SQL-based database. You also needed to understand how to deploy your project. What is that process? How to work with staging, how to work in production. Based on what I just said, Luke, you're not a junior developer, all right? I just wanted to put that out there because it's hard. But anyway, and before we get too far, if you haven't smashed the like button, don't smash it for me, smash it for all of our friends here. You're watching Coding After 30, Coffee Coding Chat stream. I do this 11 a.m. US Central Time. If you like watching people randomly code and fail, I do that Fridays, 9 p.m. US Central Time. If you want to join the channel, you can. If you want to subscribe, you don't have to. But, I basically tell you my struggle of going from being some random dude on the internet to being some random dude working at strappy.io. As a developer advocate, which combines talking about development, creating development resources like courses, and finding issues in our products. So there's a lot of coding, at least on what I do, so it's a cool role, but that's what I do. And and so that's what I work at. I'm going to do a shameless plug. If you want to build a fast API for your React framework, for your React project, just use Strappy. It literally takes 5 minutes to have a working API. But enough of a shameless plug. Let's get back to the show. So we were talking about this idea of getting hired, and we're going to talk about the reality of getting jobs. A lot of people think, like, once you develop the skill, and let me just say hey to Woo. Great to see you, my brother. How are you doing? Nice seeing you again too. Yep. And it's funny, Engine Boy has this joke. Paul is going to secure his next job in Remix team, which is true. I'm literally using these strategies that I'm going to talk about to build a network, where the joke at the company that I work for, they're like, man, if Paul continues to engage with the Remix community, he's probably going to get hired at Remix. And the funniest thing, one of the biggest dudes who used to be really, and still is, on Remix, Can't See Dots, I got him on a stream. I got him on the stream, like building networking. Yeah, I was so proud of it. I was so pumped. But I was able to get Can't See Dots here, talking about remix, getting involved. And this is what I'm going to get to. I'm slowly working my time to get to the thing that I want to talk about. Man, Stephanie, I love you. Stephanie, here's a funny story about Stephanie. So please don't do this right now because I don't want to leave the stream. But cool thing about Stephanie, and Stephanie, man, we're growing up on the stream. Check out these graphics I got now. Super fantastic. But Stephanie is a friend of mine. She logged in once with a completely different account, and she literally messaged me randomly something about going to this ice cream place. And I literally was like, and she was trolling me first, but then she mentioned ice cream, and I literally was, hey, I'm about to end the stream. Something urgent came up. I gotta go. And so I literally ended the stream so I could go with them, get ice cream. Please don't do that right now. Please. I'm trying not to eat ice cream at this moment. But Stephanie, you rock. Fantastic. But let's talk about interviewing. So here's the thing. I talked to a lot of people, regardless if they went to boot camp or not, regardless if you went to boot camp or not. Average number of resumes people send is like 300 to 400 resumes. If you're sending resumes cold to companies, expect to send an average 300 to 400 resumes. Maybe you'll get lucky, but a lot of people I talk to, this is what they went. After sending 300, 400 resumes, they basically got 5 interviews. And out of those 5 interviews, they got 2 offers, which is amazing but it's a lot of hard work, like 300, 400 resumes, Jesus Christ, like what the hell. There is a shortcut, and I'm glad that Stephanie's here because it's going to prove a point. And I'm going to talk about how do you get a job faster instead of having to send out 400 billion resumes. And this is how I do it. And I'm going to use my LinkedIn to talk about all this stuff. So let me share my screen. So I'm going to talk about everything, every job I had here. How did it happen? So let's talk about my first internship in WordPress. Did I send out a resume? No, I did not. So how did you get it? And the reason I didn't send out a resume because I would have to send out 300, 400 resume to land an internship. Instead, I just started talking about the fact that I'm learning web development, and I started building stuff at that time with WordPress. And literally, I used to teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at that time and at Gracie Sports, and she owned a marketing company. And I remember just talking to her conversation. I was like, oh, you work at a marketing company. Oh, what do you do? Oh, do you guys build websites? She's like, yeah, I build websites, whatever, but we use WordPress. I'm like, cool. Do you have an internship for that position? And she's like, yeah, we do. If you want, like, send me an example of a WordPress website you built and blah, blah, blah. And so I did. And I literally got an internship. And by talking her, this is why networking to me, it's 99% of you getting faster opportunity to getting hired. And I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to mention Stephanie here in just a minute because of reality. And so prior to this, let me just tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story. So I applied to IBM, right? I sent them my resume. 2 weeks later, I get an automatic decline that was like, you suck, we didn't hire you, whatever. It's like really impersonal because it's automatic. Here's the funny part about that story. I had a friend who worked at IBM, and I called him, and he goes, Paul, you idiot. I work at IBM. If you would have gave me your resume, guess what? You would have 100% had an interview because I would have handed to our hiring manager, and he would have, and because I'm referring you, you would have gotten an interview 100%. Not saying you would have gotten the job. You still have to pass the interview, but you would have gotten an interview. I just went to a Remix meetup in Austin, and it's hosted by HEB. And one of the developers there, he's like, hey, if you apply to HEB, don't just send your resume, but make sure you put me as a referral so I could give your resume and refer you, because you will, again, be guaranteed a interview. Same thing working with recruiters. They get there first. So if you blindly sending your resume, start making friends in the community and start giving your resume to be hand delivered by people you know. And I'm not going to lie to you because lying is bad. So let's talk about my real dev job that I got at VersaSuite. So let me share my screen here. As a software engineer at VersaSuite, greatest company ever. you could really do a fun game by going on Indeed.com and seeing the reviews or Glassdoor. Go to Glassdoor, do some review for us. It was not the greatest company. I just needed a job. But how did I get hired? So I met Steph through her husband, with whom I worked with him at Fluid Logic, where I tried to build React templates. Did I get any sales? Did I get clients? No, I didn't. But I was able to learn something. But his wife, Stephanie, worked as a project manager at this amazing company, VersaSuite. She said, hey, we're looking for React developers. I know you know React, so let me, here, I'll just refer you because you're an awesome dude. And so she referred me to the company, and I literally got that interview that following Monday. I still had to do a good job on the interview, but the reason, if I sent my resume, he would have never, ever gave me a chance, because at that time I had a crappy looking resume, not what it is today. And basically, because of her, I was able to see the owner of the company, and he gave me the job. Let's talk about research. How did I get hired here? Well, I knew David, the owner of the company, or one of the owners, but at the time, I didn't have the skill to get hired, but I already knew him. But if I applied back then, I was just a PHP developer. They were building stuff with React. I wouldn't get hired. But Jeff, who I worked on this side project with him, I recommended him to David because I sucked at React at the time, but Jeff is really good at React. And I recommended him 3 years prior to, or 4 years prior to getting hired. And so he created a bunch of cool stuff for David. And eventually, literally a year ago when I got hired there, Jeff was like, man, we need more React developers. I know that you're good at React because you previously worked with me here on this project, and I coached you in React. He was like my mentor for a long time and still is. He's like, he referred me to David, and David knowing me and then trusting Jeff, being like, hey, Jeff would never recommend someone who doesn't know what they're doing. He's like, Paul, hired. And so I got hired. How did I get hired as a developer advocate at Strappy? How did I get hired? Did I send them a resume? Here's another funny story. Before I tell you my story about getting hired as a developer advocate at Strappy. So after getting hired, I talked to their recruiter, and she goes, looking at your LinkedIn, I probably wouldn't hire you. I wouldn't hire you. And the reason why, because at the time my LinkedIn sucked, and also I didn't have a resume posted there. So she's like, just basically look at this, I wouldn't hire you. And so she made a snap judgment based on my presentation on LinkedIn, completely being like, hey, you're not gonna, get hired here. I wouldn't hire you. So how did I get hired? What was the secret? What is the secret? Paul, how did you get hired? I built a relationship. Coding addict, Strappy, right? So check this out. I built a relationship. Oh man, ads, damn it. Why are all this ad? It's like an ad inception. Jesus, stop. So how did I get hired on Strappy? Let's talk about story. So I built a relationship with John Smilga because I took his courses. By the way, his courses taught me enough React to land my job at VersaSuite. I literally had his projects in my portfolio, which I don't recommend putting your projects that you built by following a tutorial in your portfolio, but when you're starting out, it's perfectly fine. And so you could still do it. I met him through taking his courses. I started communicating, then we met and we decided to start doing stuff together. So here's a stream we're working together. I realized I'm not sharing my screen, so here we go. So let me back up here. So here's what happened. I searched Coding Addict at Strappy. We did this Power Hour stream. I built a relationship with John to a point where he had enough trust in me to start doing stuff with me. John had way more followers and subscribers to the day. He also had a wider reach to the network. So he literally knew Daniel, a developer advocate at Strappy. And as a surprise for me, what he did is he created a stream where he invited Daniel from Strappy that he knew. And basically we did this whole stream. And inside the stream, I literally said, hey, Daniel, if you're hiring, I'm going to send my resume and I'm going to hold you to it to be my reference. And that's exactly what happened. I sent my resume. He was my reference. He presented my resume and made a case for me why they should hire me at Strappy, that I had to pass the interviews. Don't want to lie to you. Like, I had to do a lot of work. The interviews were kind of hard, but I made it through I think I had like 7 calls in total before getting accepted. It was ridiculous, but it was awesome. And what I'm saying is that if I didn't have this connection and Daniel did not advocate for me at Strappy to present my resume, make a case why they should hire me just sending a resume there wouldn't work. And this is why I say it's a hard truth. People don't want to hear it. What you have to understand is that I'm not saying you can't get hired by sending resumes, but if someone could hand deliver your resume, a friend that could refer you, a recruiter, you will cut down that time in half. And so now I don't ever focus on sending my resumes. But what I do is I build relationships, and then I ask those people to refer me. And Engine Boy was kind of making this joke where he was like, Paul's going to secure his next job at Remix team. And he's absolutely right. And I showed you how I build a relationship with the Remix team, build a relationship with Kenzie Dodds. I'm involved in the Remix meetup. I gave some talks about Remix. I know Brooks, who's involved in Remix, and that's fine to see my face now because we're going to talk more. And so I built that relationship, and now I could go and ask for, thank you, Carol, for mentioning that to me now. And so now basically is that I could ask those people for referral at those companies. Not saying I'm going to get hired, but maybe I'll get the interview. And so for me, I go with the process, build connection, build a network, and then reach out to your network for opportunities. And that is the fastest way. And nobody wants to hear it, but 99% of the fastest and the shortest path to getting hired is based on who you know. I hate to say it, but it's true. And this is why I always talk about networking. This is why I always talk about getting involved, building things together, getting involved in the community, because it's the best way. I'm not saying that sending just resumes blindly is not going to work, but be ready to send 400 resumes just to get 5 interviews, just to maybe get 1 job. So basically you're saying networking is a big plus. What I'm saying, I'm not even saying basically, I'm saying this is your ace up your sleeve. And if you suck at networking, smack yourself out of it and get to it and start doing it. I build it over time, the skill, and it is a skill. And this is why I tell you, because it is so huge. And please continue sending out your resumes, but just understand how much weight networking has. So if I had to choose, let's say I had to choose one, send out resumes to bajillion companies or just focus on networking, making friends, and asking for referrals, which one would I do? I would do the later one. I would do the networking, 100%. My next job is, which I'm not leaving Strappy. So if anybody from Strappy is working, I'm going to be at Strappy for a long time because I love the product. I love what we do. I'm sold on Strappy. I'm happy with the income I made. If I get like small raises, it's fine. Like for me, I'm happy where I am. So I don't have motivation to leave and find something else. At some point, when you make enough money to pay your bills and allow you the style of living that you like, I don't need big things. I live in a small apartment. Like I'm single, I'm perfectly fine, and I make good money. I'm not gonna lie to you. And so the idea is like I'm happy where I work. But the idea here is if I were to get a next job, it will be 100% be based off the relationships I've built. You know, and that's like the biggest thing you could do. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you're jumping on late, I know we're hitting that 1 hour and a half mark, so I'm gonna open up for questions. Let's do some questions. If you're just joining in, Coding After 30, I stream 9 p.m. US Central Time where I live code or fail live. So if you're into watching people bang their heads in frustrations and you have nothing to do on Friday night, jump into that. And then Saturday mornings I do streams like this where I talk about the reality of switching careers, talking about the path you should take, talk about the things that worked for me so you don't waste your time, especially if you're older. Like nobody has time to waste, right? I made a lot of mistakes and I feel like I could have gotten hired way faster if I didn't make those mistakes. And so I want to share that. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, right, you can, but you don't have to. It's Coding After 30. Subscribe for weekly streams and videos, whatever it is, it's fine. But more importantly, what I want to say is let's open it to Q&A. But most importantly, without you, I would not exist. And if you're wondering like, can you do it? I did it and go watch my first videos on YouTube. I literally was a random dude who didn't know any programming when I started. And I used my YouTube channel as to see me learn in public and beat my goals and progress over time, to be like, wow, Paul did it. Did it do it quickly? No, he didn't. Was it hard? Yes, it was. Did he suffer? Yes, he did. But is he working in the field? Yes. Is he making like more money? Yes, he is. Is he going to continue to evolve? Yes, he is. What is he doing? I'm sharing you those secrets with you for free. I will never sell a course. At some point, I might promote affiliate links, which I'm not really pushing too hard. But the two people that I really like, John Smilga, he has a lot of Udemy courses that I love. And I really like Coding Phase. He's really doing good work. He has codingphase.com. I don't have those affiliates with those guys yet, but one day when I will, I'll probably put them in the description below. But like the goal for this channel is for me to basically spread the good message, tell you the truth, hopefully save you time so you could get hired faster. And maybe one day I'll do like buy me coffee thing if you want to donate. And if like I get more views, whatever. But I don't make money from my YouTube. I make money from my job. And that's my main goal. I want to continue making money from my skill as a developer and not my YouTube channel. But if my YouTube channel makes like money, whatever, that's great. So let's take a look at some questions before we finish the stream, because I do want to engage with you, and one day like I should have some wild things on screen for engagement. So ask away. And so Don says, I'm a freelance with PHP and MySQL and JavaScript. Most of my projects were also from recommendations from people I have a good relationship with. I'm trying to dive deep into Angular and .NET. That is awesome. And Carol, that's fantastic. Go do that. By the way, let me throw that out there. And Carol, I would love to have you on the podcast whenever you're ready. And then I also had Luke. Luke asked me already before. Luke, you said you're available in not next weekend, but the weekend after that. Let's set something up if you're able to. And I was going to say, Carol, I would love to have you on the stream. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your journey. And to Donald's point, nice. Like what he's referring to is he's literally getting recommendation from people I have good relationship. He's basically talking about this idea of referrals. Is you do good service, you build good relationship, and then you will get recommendations, you will get referrals. And that's always better than blindly sending out resumes, is because it is you're basically getting leads from people that already like you, right? If Luke here, I'll give you an idea. Luke, I'm going to use you. I'm not saying I was responsible for you getting hired. Luke got hired because he knew what the hell he was doing. But Luke used me as a reference, and not for like, I didn't get a call from the new job you got, but I got a call from the first job you got from the recruiting agency. And they like asked me questions. I gave him a referral. I said, Luke is awesome. He knows what he's doing. He's really understands his code. And these things go a long way. And the more nice things people say about you, the better it is. And again, just to kind of shoot this point home, I'm not saying like this is helping me, but I just want to go show you here. Having like people say nice things about you really helps. When people see it on LinkedIn, they're like, oh, Paul, methodical and dedicated developer with excellent skill set. He didn't have to say that, but I appreciate it. It's much better for people to learn about you, not from what you say, but from what other people say. And that is super, super important. Yes, and 100% reach out to me. So let's do more questions, everybody. Please don't be shy. This is for you, right? Before we finished. I'm currently where you were in day one, zero knowledge of coding. I unfortunately can't attend physical boot camp, so I'm doing front-end masters is amazing. You will learn a lot. It's expensive depending like where you live. Like $40, $49 a month. It's pretty, it could be expensive, but yeah, it's a good thing. So what I would suggest for you, what the hell did I press? Just keep doing on your track, keep going, keep moving forward. And what I would say, just make sure you have like a good path of what you want to learn. I wasted years of not doing the things that I needed to do to get a job. So decide what it is. For me, it was React developer. Create an outline of the things that you need to learn. Doesn't have to be all those things, but have a plan and then use one resource to create like your own learning journey to make progress. And by the way, if you want to have access to this, to duplicate it, the mess with it, I'm going to share it here. And then Carol says, currently learning React and Advanced JS, lay down planning to TypeScript with React JS. Yes, that is a really good goal. Keep it up, and everything you're doing, please follow that path. I know it's gonna make it feel like you're progressing slower, but whenever you complete a React course, build your own version of the project with React. Whenever you build that TypeScript, take your own React project that you built before, duplicate it, and add TypeScript to it. Do it that way. That is the best way to do it. Come on, peoples. Let's do more questions before we end the stream, because the most important thing for me is to engage in a conversation with the most amazing man. If you didn't smash the like button, please don't smash it for me, but smash it for other people in the comments, asking these wonderful questions and participating. And if you're shy about asking questions, it's fine. You don't have to. But don't be shy. There's nothing to be shy about. And I'm glad. Thank you. I'm glad this is very helpful. Oh man, Carol, you must sign on really late. So I want to talk about, yes, I do have a daughter. She's about to turn 23 years old. She's in the Navy. She's living in Japan. Right now she's on a tour. So she's on 6 months doing her tour thing in the military, which is basically she's on the carrier patrolling the seas. So proud of her. So I used to have a wife, then I got divorced. I used to have a fiance that I loved. And this is one thing that I want to take mention here. Please set realistic expectations of what you're going to be going through on your learning journey with your significant others. So I broke up. I didn't break up. She broke up with me, with my fiance. So after almost 4.5 years being together, being engaged, getting to get married, she broke up with me because she couldn't deal with me not having enough time with her, because I told her up front, I said, listen, I am switching careers. I will need to work, but I will also need to spend a lot of my time studying to continue that I'm growing. And it's like, I need to dedicate time to get to a point where I could comfortably say I made it, where I'm making enough money to support the family. And for her, she wasn't willing for me to make that commitment. Fair enough. I totally understand. And this is what I tell you, with your significant others, with your family, especially when you have your family, your kids, make sure you set real expectation of the sacrifice that you will make. And I'm not saying I'm not wrong. My fiance is not wrong, right? It's that you need to make realistic expectations and make sure that both of you are in the same team. And then, yeah, Carol, it's very common, it is what it is. And when you have kids and you divorce, Jesus Christ, it is rough. Everything that comes with it. I don't even want to talk about it. Just keep a smile and just know, do what it takes. Keep moving forward, one leg after the other. But it's the thing. And what do you think about recruitment agencies? Are they worth it? I think, yeah, definitely use recruiting agencies. Some of them are sketchy. Some of them are not. You got to kind of dig through that. I would build relationship with recruiters, reach out to them. Definitely helps. And definitely, really, really good path, especially when I talked about this idea of not sending your resumes blindly. And by the way, Coder Foundry, they have a great channel. They do a lot of good stuff. Coder Foundry. I really like those guys. Bobby and Kevin, they do the stuff there. And they do a lot of great resource, but they also released a book that you could buy on Amazon, which covers really good tips on how to get hired. You could just go to their channel and check it out and see, but you don't have to buy the book unless you want to. But the one step that I really liked in the book that I talked about is don't be shy working with recruiters. It will not hurt, right? But it could definitely help. So I would say that's a pretty good strategy. And I build relationship with recruiters to make sure that when I do decide to do something, I have. What's happening now, by the way, is a lot of companies, they have their internal recruiters. And I suggest figuring out who those are. You could easily find on LinkedIn, just find the company and then look at the people in the position. A lot of times they will say recruiter or their talent acquisition manager, whatever the hell, and friend them, follow them, and start a conversation with them. Yeah, tough road. I really had a tough road. I don't want to talk about it, but this year has been really tough for me. And everybody's got it tough. And so the thing that I want to say is that I don't want to talk about my problem. They're really big for me this year. Like, that's why I was off YouTube forever. Like, I was off my community forever. I had 2 huge things that literally were depressing, and I literally had to stop doing everything I do just so I could not get fired from my work. Thankfully, my work was so awesome that my work made me feel less depressed. This is how low I was in my life, that the happiness that I was able to find was from me going to work at Strappy because of how awesome everybody at the team was. But literally, I went through a huge breakup with my fiance. I love her to death. Jesus, that was really hard. And then Marissa's mom, she passed away in a car accident literally a couple of months ago. And that was really hard for both of us. And so I'm not telling you this to say like, oh my God, I have it hard. There's so many of you here that have it even harder, but it's just reality of life. And we just have to keep putting one foot after the other and continue forward. Listen, I really want to send in my first job application. It's just 3 months of time investment in React. No, just start. You know what? Start sending your applications ASAP as possible, even while you're learning, because it's going to be good learning experience in the process. So don't wait. You could do this in parallel. You could apply to jobs, even with like almost no knowledge, whatever. You're obviously not going to get a job, but maybe you get lucky. Maybe you will. Who knows? Weird things happen, but keep learning and keep applying. So you need to do applying for a job. I guess should have been more clear about it, and your learning journey in parallel, because you might get to a job much sooner. So that's what I would do. And definitely try to rebuild John's project from scratch to do it your own way. 100%. That's awesome. Yeah, Jose, I know it's just hard. And this is what I'm telling people is that when people say, I can't do this, I can't do that, what are you talking about? Everybody has difficulties in their lives. And the only difference between you and them, there's people that have it worse than I am, and they're still getting jobs as developers. The difference is just committing and just deciding and going all in the steps that you need to do to make the changes. And the secret sauce, a lot of people say, what's the secret to get hired? The secret sauce is you. You are the secret sauce on your journey to getting hired as a developer, because you are the one who will do the job. It's not watching YouTube channels. It's not following YouTubers. It's the work that you put in, the sacrifices that you make, learning the skill, learning how to network, learning how to build projects from scratch, learning how to interview, and doing all of that. That's on you. I could give you advice, and hopefully the things that you get from my channel will keep you from focusing on the things that matter rather than focusing on the things that will never help you get to where you're going. And you saw my journey. If you didn't watch my first video, I'm a random dude on YouTube who for the life of me would never have gotten hired as a developer. And now I'm working at Strappy.io, like the top leading CMS company when it comes to headless CMSs built with JavaScript and Node. Are you kidding me? And I have built a network of friends in the community that getting my other job, if I was looking for one, would be easier. It's insane, but it took time. It took hard work. And that's where I'm going to leave you all today. Thank you so much for participating. Love you all. If you're wondering where you could find me, you could just find me on this channel, Coding After 30. I stream Fridays, 9 p.m. US Central Time, where I bang my head against the keyboard because I'm failing miserably at coding live, which is perfectly normal. That's why I do it. And then I stream at 11 a.m. US Central Time, where I talk about all the tips and things that help me get hired to get a job. And thank you for joining me on a Saturday. You could be doing pretty much anything you want, but you decided to come. So I'll hopefully see a lot of you next Saturday. And you can always subscribe to my channel if you haven't, but you don't have to. And thank you. If you haven't smashed the like, don't smash the like for me, smash the like for you in the community, because without you, this channel would not exist. I would not exist. Through my hard times, I just, got my motivation by just being like, man, we have such an amazing community of people, and I'm really blessed to be able to have these conversations with you. So thank you so much. I really appreciate everything that you do. Keep staying awesome. Have a great rest of the Saturday, evening, day, night, wherever you are, and have a great, amazing rest of the weekend. And with that being said, I will see all of you later. So have a good night. Take care, and bye-bye.